"It was you who turned us in," the orphan girls said to the millionaire, but when they discover the truth behind it, they call the police immediately. The stone hit the armored limousine's glass with a dull thud that echoed through the industrial district of Crestwood like a war cry. Arthur Thompson, 52, looked up from the financial reports scattered on the leather seat as his driver braked sharply. Through the tinted glass, he could see 4 small figures running toward the vehicle, their dirty clothes contrasting with the clean asphalt of Industrial Avenue. "Sir, should I call security?" asked the driver, John, his hand already on the radio communicator. Arthur motioned for him to wait. There was something in those desperate movements that piqued his curiosity. The smallest of the children, a girl of apparently 4 years with tangled dark hair, led the group with fierce determination. She held another stone in her dirty little hands and shouted words the businessman couldn't distinguish through the glass. "Lower the window, John." "But, sir—" "Lower it." Dame, the window descended slowly, allowing the girl's high-pitched voice to invade the luxurious interior of the vehicle. "It was you who turned us in! It was you!" she screamed, tears leaving clean tracks on her dust-streaked face. "You destroyed our home! You separated us!" Arthur leaned forward, trying to understand the accusations. "What do you mean, child? What are you talking about?" The girl stopped shouting for a moment, studying his face through the open window. Her 3 companions positioned themselves behind her like soldiers in formation, a redhead of about 7 with a purple bruise on her left arm, a brunette of 6 who limped slightly, and another of 5 who clutched a faded teddy bear to her chest. "You're the man from the big company," said the smallest, pointing an accusing little finger at him. The name was on the door of the truck that stopped coming. Thompson Industries. The businessman felt a chill. His company did indeed supply food to several institutions in the region, but he couldn't recall any recent cancellations that could have caused such a reaction. "Which institution, girl? Where did you come from?" "From St. Jude's Home," answered the redhead, speaking for the first time. Her voice carried a bitterness unsuited for her age. "Until you stopped sending food and they shut everything down." The memories began to form in Arthur's mind. St. Jude's Home. He vaguely remembered his lawyer, Marcus Thorne, mentioning problems with late payments from some institutions. He had recommended cuts to optimize costs, but Arthur hadn't paid attention to the specific details. "Listen, girls," he said, trying to use a gentle tone. "There must be a misunderstanding." "I didn't." "There's no misunderstanding," interrupted the smallest, who seemed to be the group's natural leader. "Ever since the food stopped coming, Aunt Susan cried every day. She said she didn't have the money to keep us. Then the people from the government came and took us to different houses." The limping brunette took a step forward. "I'm Sarah. This is Lily," she said, pointing to the smallest. "That's Emily," she indicated the redhead. "And she's Mia," she finished, touching the shoulder of the girl with the teddy bear. Lily wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "We ran away from all the houses. They were bad, very bad." "What do you mean, bad?" asked Arthur, a growing concern filling his chest. Emily showed the bruise on her arm. "The sons in my house beat me every day. They said I was an intruder eating their food." Sarah lifted her shirt slightly, revealing a purple mark on her ribs. "I slept on the laundry room floor. It was cold, and there was the noise of the machine all night." Mia clutched the bear to herself. "They made me sell candy at the traffic lights, from early morning until dark. If I didn't sell everything, I didn't get dinner." Arthur's heart tightened. These children weren't making up stories. There was a painful sincerity in their accounts. "And how did you find out where to find me?" Lily stuck her hand in the pocket of her worn-out pants and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. It was a label with the Thompson Industries logo. "My mum worked in a factory that made clothes for your company. She always saved these labels because she said one day I would know how to read the name and be proud." The tears returned to her eyes. When the orphanage closed, I remembered the name. I asked everyone where your company was until someone told me. The revelation hit Arthur like a punch to the gut. Lily's mother had worked for one of his suppliers. This 4-year-old girl had crossed the city alone with her friends, driven by the conviction that he was responsible for her suffering. And maybe she was right. "John, open the door," he ordered the driver. "Sir, open the door. These girls need help." Lily took a few steps back, suspicious. "We're not going to any new house. We want to stay together." "I won't separate you," Arthur promised, getting out of the vehicle. He knelt on the asphalt to be at the girl's eye level. "But you can't stay on the street. It's dangerous." "It's more dangerous to stay in the houses," retorted Emily, crossing her arms. Arthur looked at the 4 girls, dirty, scared, but united by a fierce loyalty that impressed him. Lily held the company label like a piece of evidence, her eyes shining with a determination he didn't see in many adults. "Give me a chance," he pleaded. "Let me find out what really happened to the orphanage. If I'm to blame for this, I'll fix it." "And if you don't fix it?" questioned Sarah. Arthur looked directly into Lily's eyes. "Then you can throw as many stones as you want at my limousine." For the first time, a tiny smile appeared on the girl's face. "We might accept your help for now." As Arthur stood up, he felt that his life had completely changed. He didn't know yet that this encounter in the industrial district was just the beginning of a journey that would reveal secrets about his own past and test every fiber of his humanity. Marcus Thorne's office occupied the top floor of the most elegant commercial building in downtown Crestwood, with a privileged view of Rutherford Plaza. Arthur crossed the luxurious environment with firm steps, ignoring the secretary's greetings as he headed directly to the lawyer's office. The 4 girls had spent the previous night in his penthouse apartment, sleeping for the first time in weeks, in clean beds and with full stomachs. "Marcus, I need you to explain to me exactly what happened with the St. Jude's home contract," Arthur said, closing the door behind him with more force than necessary. The lawyer, a man in his early 50s with perfectly coiffed grey hair, looked up from the documents scattered on his desk. "Good morning to you too, Arthur. Coffee?" "I don't want coffee. I want answers." Marcus leaned back in his leather chair, studying his client's tense expression. "St. Jude's home was 3 months behind on payments. I recommended the cancellation following your own directive to cut unnecessary expenses. It was a purely business decision." "And you didn't think to talk to me before making that decision?" "Arthur, you yourself said you didn't want to be bothered with minor operational details. I just followed your guidelines." Frustration burned in Arthur's chest. It was true that he had delegated many decisions to the lawyer in recent years, especially after loneliness began to consume him following Catherine's death. But he had never imagined that this neglect could affect the lives of innocent children. "These children are suffering because of our decision," he said, walking to the window. "They were placed in temporary homes where they are being mistreated." Marcus frowned. "How do you know that?" "Because they found me yesterday. 4 girls, Marcus. The youngest is 4 years old and personally accused me of destroying their lives." The lawyer let out a short laugh. "Arthur, you can't hold yourself responsible for all the social problems in the city. We cancelled an overdue contract, period. What happened after that is not our fault." The coldness in Marcus's voice made something snap inside Arthur. For the first time, he saw his lawyer not as an efficient collaborator, but as someone capable of treating orphan children as numbers on a spreadsheet. "I want you to investigate the families where these girls were placed, and I want a full audit of all the contracts we cancelled in the last year. That will be expensive and time-consuming." "I didn't ask the price," Arthur cut in. "Get it done." As he left the office, Arthur didn't notice the calculating smile that formed on Marcus's face as soon as the door closed. 3 days later, Arthur received a phone call that would change everything. He was in his office at the factory when John, his driver, called in a panic. "Sir, the girls are gone." "What do you mean gone? They were in the apartment with the maid." Mrs. Davis said they went out in the morning to play on the building's playground and never came back. "We've looked everywhere." Arthur dropped everything and rushed home. He found Mrs. Davis, his faithful maid of 15 years, crying in the kitchen. "Mr. Thompson, I swear I only looked away for 5 minutes to prepare their snack. When I came back, they had disappeared." Did they say anything? Did they seem worried about something? Little Lily had been restless since yesterday. She kept asking if you were really going to help them or if you were going to send them away like the others. Arthur's heart sank. The girls had run away because they didn't trust him. They spent the rest of the day searching all over Crestwood, in the parks, squares, and bus stops. When night fell, he was desperate. It was then that he received an unexpected call. "Hello? This is Beatrice Sanders from the Social Services Department. I heard you're looking for 4 orphan girls." "Yes. Do you know where they are?" "Maybe. But first, we need to talk about your improper interference in the child protection system." Arthur felt a chill down his spine. "What do you mean?" "You removed these children from officially approved homes without authorization. That's a serious violation. I need to see you tomorrow in my office." That night, Arthur couldn't sleep. He walked through the empty penthouse, remembering the girls' laughter echoing through the halls over the past few nights. Lily had asked if he had children, and when he said no, she replied, "Well, now you have 4. The next morning, he went to Beatrice Sanders' office in the city centre. The social worker was a middle-aged woman with a fake smile and calculating eyes. Her office was filled with stacked files and photos of children pinned to the wall. "Mr. Thompson, what you did was extremely irregular," she said, flipping through a folder. "These girls were legally assigned to specific foster families." "Families that mistreated them," Arthur retorted. "Emily showed me the bruises from the beatings." Beatrice shrugged. "Adaptation is always difficult. Children often exaggerate in the first few weeks." Exaggerate? Sarah was sleeping on a laundry room floor. "Mr. Thompson, you need to understand something." Beatrice leaned forward, lowering her voice. "The system works in a specific way. These families receive government assistance to care for the children. There are interests involved." "What kind of interests?" A strange smile formed on the woman's face. "The kind that can be very profitable for those who know how to work with the situations properly." Arthur felt nauseous. "Are you telling me these children are treated as a source of income? I'm telling you that you're interfering in matters you don't understand, and that can have serious legal consequences." "Where are the girls now?" "They were relocated to new families last night, in different cities in the region, to prevent further escapes." Arthur's blood boiled. "You separated them on purpose." "It was the appropriate protocol for cases of rebellion." Beatrice closed the folder with a sharp snap. "Unless you want to cooperate with us, of course." "Cooperate how?" "A generous donation to the Social Assistance Fund. Let's say $50,000. In return, I can reconsider the girl's situation." Arthur realized he was facing blatant blackmail. Beatrice Sanders was not a dedicated public servant. She was a profiteer who profited from the suffering of orphan children. "And if I pay, you guarantee they'll be in good families?" "I guarantee they will stay together and be well cared for." Arthur pretended to consider the proposal. "I need some time to arrange that amount." 48 hours, Beatrice said. "After that, they will be transferred to families in other states." Leaving that office, Arthur felt an anger he hadn't experienced in years. But now he was sure of one thing. He wasn't just facing negligence or incompetence. There was an organized corruption network exploiting vulnerable children, and somehow his own company had helped feed this system. The summer rain lashed Crestwood with an intensity that seemed to reflect the desperation in Arthur's heart. For 5 days, since Beatrice Sanders's blackmail, he had mobilized every possible resource to locate the 4 girls. He hired a private detective, activated contacts at City Hall, and even offered rewards for information. But the girls seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. That Thursday night, as he drove through the deserted downtown streets looking for any sign of the little ones, Arthur spotted movement under the awning of a closed shop on Lincoln Avenue. His breath hitched when he recognized 4 small silhouettes huddled against the wall, soaked by the rain. The wind blew under the precarious shelter. He stopped the car immediately and ran to them. Lily was in the center, hugging the other 3 in a desperate attempt to keep them warm. They were all shivering violently, their clothes stuck to their bodies from days of rain. "Lily!" he shouted, kneeling on the wet sidewalk. The girl lifted her face, her lips purple with cold. "Mr. Thompson, you came looking for us?" "Of course I did. I've been looking for you for days." Sarah tried to sit up, but she was too weak. "We ran away from the new houses too. They were worse than the first ones." Emily was coughing violently, a wet sound that made Arthur's heart clench. They wanted to separate us again. They put Mia in a house 200 miles from here." Arthur looked at Mia, who was holding the remains of her teddy bear, now just wet rags. The girl was semi-conscious, murmuring incoherent words. "You're sick," he said, panic growing in his chest. "You need a doctor immediately." "We don't want to go to a hospital," Lily protested weakly. "They'll hand us over to that mean woman again." "Lily, listen to me." Arthur took off his coat and wrapped the girl in it, then picked her up. "Trust me this time. I promise I won't let anyone separate you again." For the first time since they met, Lily didn't resist. She rested her head on his shoulder and whispered, "You're not bad like I thought, but I'm afraid they'll turn us in again." "That's not going to happen," he promised, carrying her toward the car, while John helped with the other 3 girls. At St. Joseph's Hospital, Arthur faced the first of many battles to come. The receptionist questioned his authority to authorize medical treatment, the doctor on duty hesitated to treat them without official documents, and a nurse even suggested contacting Child Protective Services. "These children have pneumonia," he said coldly to every employee who created obstacles. "You will treat them now, or I will sue this hospital for negligence." His social and business standing finally opened doors. Lily was admitted with a fever of 104 degrees, Emily with early-stage pneumonia, Sarah with severe dehydration, and Mia in a state of shock. Arthur set up camp in the pediatric waiting room, refusing to leave until he knew they were all out of danger. It was during the second night at the hospital that he received a call that would change his perspective on the whole situation. "Mr. Thompson, this is Sister Helen, former director of St. Jude's Home." Arthur sat up straight in the uncomfortable waiting room chair. "Sister Helen, I heard you found our girls. How are they?" "They're hospitalized, but they're going to recover." He paused, processing her words. "You said our girls." "Mr. Thompson, I cared for Lily, Emily, Sarah, and Mia for 3 years. They are like daughters to me." The woman's voice trembled. "When we lost our funding and had to close the orphanage, it was the worst day of my life. Sister Helen, I need to understand what really happened. My lawyer told me you were delinquent on payments." "Delinquent?" Her voice changed. "Mr. Thompson, we never missed a single payment in 10 years of partnership with your company. The problem started when your lawyer, Marcus Thorne, showed up at the orphanage alleging irregularities in the documents." Arthur's stomach dropped. "What kind of irregularities?" "He said there were suspicions of mismanagement of the funds allocated to the children. He demanded a full audit and suspended supplies until it was completed. But the audit never happened, Mr. Thompson. 3 weeks later, we received the final cancellation notice." The revelation hit Arthur like a lightning bolt. Marcus had lied about the late payments. Not only that, he had created false pretexts to cancel the contract. Sister Helen, do you have documents that prove this? I have all the payment receipts and the correspondence exchanged with Mr. Thorne's office. I can email everything to you today. After hanging up, Arthur walked to the room where Lily was sleeping, connected to an IV and monitors. The girl seemed even smaller in the hospital bed, but her breathing was more stable. Next to her bed was a drawing she had made with colored pencils a nurse had brought her. 4 girls holding hands under a rainbow. "Sir?" A soft voice called him. It was the night shift nurse. "The girl woke up earlier asking for you. She said you promised they would stay together." "And they will," Arthur replied with renewed determination. The next day, with the girls stable but still hospitalized, Arthur scheduled an urgent meeting with Marcus. He arrived at the office carrying a folder with all the documents Sister Helen had sent. "Marcus, you lied to me," he said, throwing the papers on the lawyer's desk. Marcus didn't even look at the documents. "Arthur, you're being too emotional because of these children. It's clouding your business judgment." "Business judgment?" Arthur's voice rose. "You fabricated non-existent debts to justify closing an orphanage." "I optimized unnecessary operational costs," Marcus replied coldly. "That's what you pay me for. And what else have you optimized without consulting me?" For the first time, a shadow of concern crossed the lawyer's face. "What do you mean?" "I want a complete audit of all company accounts for the last 2 years, especially those related to social contracts and donations." Marcus stood up slowly. "Arthur, you are making a grave mistake by questioning my integrity. I've worked with you for 15 years. "That's exactly why I'm shocked," Arthur replied, gathering the documents. 15 years of betrayed trust. That afternoon, as he was returning to the hospital to see the girls, Arthur received a call from his personal accountant. "Mr. Thompson, I found something very strange in the audit you requested." "What is it?" "There's a separate account called the Corporate Social Fund that has moved over $300,000 in the last year. But I can't find proper documentation on the destination of these funds." "Who has access to this account?" "According to the records, only Mr. Thorne." Arthur parked the car in front of the hospital and sat for a few minutes, processing the information. Marcus hadn't just invented pretexts to cancel contracts. He had embezzled money that was supposed to be for social causes, including, probably, resources that could have saved St. Jude's home. When he entered the girls' room, he found them awake for the first time in days. Lily smiled weakly when she saw him. "Mr. Thompson, the nurse said we're leaving the hospital tomorrow." "That's right. And then what? Are we going to another different house?" Arthur sat on the edge of the bed and held the girl's small hand. "Lily, can I ask you all a question?" The 4 girls paid attention. "Would you like to come live with me, forever?" The silence that followed was filled with both hope and fear. Finally, Sarah asked, "What if you change your mind?" "I won't change my mind, I promise." Lily squeezed his hand. "Then I accept, but only if you promise one thing." "Anything." "That you'll find out who harmed our home and other children like us." Arthur smiled, feeling a steely resolve grow in his chest. "I promise, Lily, and that's a promise I intend to keep." 3 weeks after the girls' hospital discharge, life in Arthur's penthouse had completely transformed. The once silent corridors now echoed with laughter and games. The walls were decorated with colorful drawings, and the kitchen always smelled of the brownies Mrs. Davis made, especially for the 4 new residents. But behind the domestic happiness, Arthur worked methodically to dismantle the corruption network that had destroyed so many lives. The investigation into Marcus revealed crimes that surpassed his worst expectations. With the help of a discreetly hired forensic auditor, he discovered that the lawyer had embezzled more than $500,000 from the corporate social fund over 3 years. The money was originally intended for renovations at St. Jude's Home, scholarships for employees' children, and improvements in municipal daycares. "Daddy Arthur," called Lily, entering his home office on a Saturday morning. The girls had spontaneously started calling him that, and every time he heard those words, his heart warmed. "Yes, my love. Mrs. Davis is making brownies and wants to know if she can use the good chocolate or if she has to save it." Arthur smiled. Even after weeks of living in comfort, the girls still showed concerns about money and resources, scars from the months of deprivation. "She can use the good chocolate, and tell her to make plenty, because today we're having special visitors." Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. What kind of visitors? "People who can help us make sure other children don't go through what you went through." That afternoon, Arthur welcomed to his home the district attorney, Robert Miller, the new director of the Municipal Child Protective Services, Dr. Patricia Lowell, and Sister Helen, who had become a key ally in his crusade against corruption in the child protection system. "Mr. Thompson," said the DA, examining the folder of evidence Arthur had compiled, "this is more serious than we imagined. We're not just talking about embezzlement, but an organized structure that profited from the suffering of minors." Dr. Lowell, an energetic woman in her 40s, who had taken over after Beatrice Sanders' dismissal, added, "We've already identified at least 15 families who were taking in children just to pocket the government aid. Some of these children were in deplorable conditions." Lily appeared in the room, carrying a tray of brownies, followed by the other 3 girls. The visitors were visibly moved to see how different the little ones were, well-fed, in new clothes, and most importantly, smiling. "Are these the girls?" asked Dr. Lowell, kneeling to be at their eye level. "That's us," replied Sarah proudly. "I'm Sarah, this is Lily, that's Emily, and she's Mia. I heard you're very brave," Emily approached shyly. "We just wanted to stay together, and we wanted to find who did bad things to our home." "And you found them," said Sister Helen, moved. "Thanks to your courage, we'll be able to help many other children." After the girls left to play, the adults discussed the next steps of the investigation. It was then that Arthur revealed his most shocking discovery. "There's something I haven't told you yet," he said, taking a shoebox from his personal file. "I found this among Lily's personal belongings at the hospital." He opened the box, revealing a few objects the girl kept as treasures: the company label, some charcoal drawings, and a faded, folded photograph. "This photo has been with her since the orphanage," Arthur explained, handing it to the DA. Robert looked at the image and frowned. 2 young women. One of them looks familiar. Arthur took a deep breath before speaking. "The woman on the right is Jessica Smith, Lily's biological mother. She died in a workplace accident when the girl was 2. And the other one, that's Catherine Thompson, my wife, who died 10 years ago." Silence filled the room. Sister Helen was the first to speak. "Mr. Thompson, does this mean—" "It means my wife and Lily's mother were best friends," he completed, his voice thick with emotion. "I found other photos at home after I started investigating. They met when Jessica worked for one of my company's suppliers. Catherine never told me about the promise she made to her friend." Dr. Lowell leaned forward. "What promise?" Arthur showed a crumpled piece of paper that was also in Lily's box. "It's a drawing Jessica made for her daughter before she died. On the back, there's a dedication. 'For my Lily. If anything happens to me, Aunt Catherine will take care of you,' she promised." Tears streamed down Sister Helen's face, "So it wasn't a coincidence that you met." "Catherine died before she could keep her promise," Arthur continued. Lily went to St. Jude's home because I never knew about this connection. If I had known. You couldn't have known, the DA interrupted gently. The important thing is that now she's where she was meant to be all along. At that moment, Lily appeared at the door, having clearly overheard part of the conversation. Daddy Arthur, did you know my mom? Arthur opened his arms and she ran into his lap. I didn't know your mom, my love, but my wife Catherine knew her. They were very special friends. So Mommy knew I was going to find you. I think so, Lily. I think your mom and my wife arranged everything from heaven so we would meet. The girl smiled and hugged him tightly. Then we're a real family now. 2 months later, the corruption scandal in Crestwood's child protection system made national headlines. Marcus Thorne was convicted of embezzlement and fraud. Beatrice Sanders and 15 families involved in the scheme were prosecuted. More importantly, 43 children were removed from at-risk situations and placed in genuinely loving homes. Arthur used his business influence to create the Catherine Thompson Institute, an organization dedicated to monitoring and improving the foster care system throughout the state of Ohio. The Institute worked in partnership with the new St. Jude's home, which was reopened with funds from Arthur's own company. On Christmas afternoon, the penthouse was full of life. The 4 girls had invited other children from the Institute to celebrate, and the house echoed with laughter and Christmas carols. Sister Helen had become the new director of the renovated St. Jude's home and regularly visited her daughters of the heart. Daddy, said Mia, pulling on Arthur's sleeve, can I ask you a question? Always, my dear. Why did you decide to help us? You could have pretended you didn't see us that day. Arthur knelt to be at her eye level, looking at the 4 girls who had so completely transformed his life. Because you taught me that family isn't just about who you're born with. It's about who chooses to stay together, to take care of each other, and to never give up. Lily came closer and held his hand. And you'll never give up on us? Never, he promised, hugging the 4 girls. You are my family now, forever. That night, as the girls slept in their rooms decorated with their own works of art, Arthur went to the room that had once belonged to Catherine. On the dresser, he had placed the photograph of his wife next to the photo where she appeared with Jessica. Thank you for guiding me to them, he whispered. I kept your promise, my love, and they brought me back to life. Outside, the city of Crestwood slept peacefully, but in a penthouse downtown, a family created by destiny and strengthened by love quietly celebrated the miracle of having found each other. And somewhere, 2 women who were no longer of this world smiled, knowing that true love always finds a way to manifest.